All right, so we've made it to week 4. And what I'm going to be focusing on this week will be our final assignment and our assessment. What I'm going to be working on today will be some 3D prototyping of the final design. And again, if you read what it says here, in a professional setting, a mock-up is an important step in the design process because it provides the client a better understanding and visual representation of how the finished design will look in real life. And I can tell you from my experience, it's an absolutely essential thing to be able to establish for your client what the piece is going to look like. They really need to know what they're getting into. And the better you become at doing this, the better it will be for you overall. So again, we're going to be focusing on taking our design to that next level by prototyping. Now, it talks about 2 easy ways to create realistic packaging mock-ups for professional presentation. I have 3 ways. I'm going to actually show you 3 ways tonight and tomorrow night how to do this. And I think you're going to find my methods to be extremely good and really, in a way, very simple. So that's basically what I'm going to be focusing on tonight and tomorrow: the production of these prototypes, the final preparation of your label art for submission, and just the final preparation of your overall box project for submission. So by the end of the week, you should be able to submit your final box to me with all the graphics in place, a nice label, and a couple of really good-looking mock-ups that you can then put up on your line, or put up online into Behance, and have really beautiful projects that you could show to clients when you go to get work. So that's where we're heading with this. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to go into Illustrator and I'm actually going to begin the process. So here we are. We're in Adobe Illustrator, and this is principally where we left off last week. This was the package that you submitted. I went through the process. Let me open up my layers panel. I went through the process of showing you how to correct your piece and make it correct like my piece. So what I'm going to do is just very quickly, I'm going to hide the graphics, I'm going to hide the background, and I'm going to hide your artboard, and I'm going to very quickly just remind you that we produced a die line right there, and we have a layer with the die line on it, and we have a bleed, which is the red, and of course the bleed is where we're going to run our colors to so that there's enough color to actually let it bleed off of the individual panels around all the edges to come up with a very clean looking package. And then finally, the folds. And the folds, of course, don't really print. The bleed lines don't really print either. They're more or less a guide that will get you to put your color far enough out so that you're able to make sure that your color runs off the entire package in any direction that you want it to run off of. And again, what happens with this die line, the die line really doesn't print either. The die line primarily is what I would call a punch or a die, and it's something that is used to actually take your printed piece and cut it out of the overall sheet, the overall background sheet. So that's why these 3 things are important. And I went through the process through the course of the past weeks of showing you how to produce this. If you go about it the right way, it's not a very difficult thing to do. It's a very simple thing to do, and you just have to understand the point of each and why you're doing it and how you go about doing it, which is what we discussed. So then I bring back the graphics, and I bring back the background. And now I have my completed piece. I'm going to once again hide the bleed line, and there is the piece showing the actual printed piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock all of this. And the reason I'm going to unlock all of this is because what I want to do is select all of it, and I want to drag it over here and put it on that artboard. So, oops, something is, let's go edit undo. Something's not unlocked. Let me go in here and let me see what's locked. That's locked, and let's see what else is locked. I think that's okay. And nothing seems to be locked there. We'll try it again. Let's try it one more time now and see if it works now. Drag it over there, like that. I don't get it. What's going on here? Hold on, let's see. There, okay, for some weird reason, it just was being argumentative. Okay, so the reason I did this is so now I have the clearance, I got the clearance of this, I got the clearance of this board to work on to make my mock-ups. I'm not going to do these mock-ups. I'm not going to do the box mock-up right away. I'm going to do two things. I have my hot sauce label here. This is my final hot sauce label. Let's see if I got it over here. I have it over here as well, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to just take this guy, and I'm going to delete it because I don't need it here anymore. Now, this piece of art is all ready for me to show you how to make my box mock-ups. Before I do that, what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of little things about the hot sauce bottle and the hot sauce label. So let me come in here, and this is my hot sauce bottle, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how I made this bottle. I had a little bit of problems with it last week, so I'm going to do it again and show you how I do this hot sauce bottle, because it is probably something that you really want to do. It's very interesting, and it makes a great mock-up. It's not impossible to do. You can do this. It's just that you've got to spend a little effort on doing it, and I want to show you the proper way to do it. Before I do that, though, what I want to do is I want to focus on the label for a second, okay? So I have my label here that I've created. This is the actual label that goes on the bottle, and it has all of the elements that are called for. In other words, you know, we need the brand, the type. We need the type of pepper. We need the logo. I put the name here, so that's something you don't need, but I put it in because I thought it helped fill space better. You need the net weight. Of course, there are certain things that are required elements, so one of them was the net weight, so that's there. We created this graphic for one side for you, and it's partly yours and it's partly a replacement because the graphic that you had originally was not very good. So we replaced it with one that was better, but this is a graphic you came up with, and I think it works pretty good there. And then there's the copy that goes on the back, and actually we managed to get that copy on the actual bottle label as well. The nutritional facts are here. I mean, if we had to, we could do away with this copy and make the nutritional facts bigger, but I think we're just fine with the nutritional facts the way they are, so I'm going to leave it. The ingredients, and then the website information, and then manufactured by. So I'm mentioning all this to you because it's very important for you to understand that there are required elements. This is not required elements. This is something that we came up with. That is a required element, the Serrano chili. That's a required element. Wild Bill's gourmet hot sauce isn't essentially one because we actually have it here. This graphic isn't essentially one, but that is, and all of the stuff on the back right there, they're all required elements. So it's really important for you to understand that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare this label, all right? And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to go to info. Okay, and now let's take a look and let's see what the info is on this. So we have the width of this is 6.8211 inches. Let's see, 6.8211 inch, and height, that's the width, height is 6.305. 205, sorry, 205 inches. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to include 1/8 of an inch of bleed on this background, because eventually this is going to be put, this graphic is going to be put into an InDesign file, which we're then going to save as a PDF. So what I did here was I brought some guides out, and I put some guides around the edge of this box. And then I created this little thing right here. And all this is a little rectangle. And if you click on the rectangle, and if I go to Window Info, let's see what it tells me it is. It's a 0.125 inch by 0.125 inch. So basically, what that means is that that little thing right there represents the amount of bleed that I need for the overall background. So what I'm going, and there's other ways I could do this, but this is an easy way to do it. And I'm just going to take this now, and I'm going to set that right at that edge, and I'm just going to drag a guide out to it. And then I'm going to, and I went a little bit too far with it. Let me bring it back. There we go. Now I'm going to select it again, and I'm going to bring it over to the side, and I'm going to put it right on the edge of the side right there. And I'm going to drag a guide to it, like that. Okay? Then I'm going to drag it to the bottom, bring it all the way down to the bottom, like that. And then I'm going to drag a guide down to it, like that. Okay, so now what I've done, and I didn't quite get that. Let me move it up a little bit. There we go. That's probably better. Okay, and now I can delete this thing. I'm done with it. So what I've done essentially is I've created a gap here by using these guides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of the background all the way around this thing so that I can create a bleed for the size of 6.8211 wide by 6.3205 high. So I select this, and I'm going to get my free transform tool. And I'm going to come over to the corner, select it, click on it. I'm holding the mouse down. I'm going to hold the Shift key and the Alt key, because what I want to do is I want to increase the size of this from the center out to all 4 of those little anchor point lines, right about like that, okay? And it looks to me like the one on the left here went a little bit further than I wanted it to go, so I'm going to drag that back just a touch. And if you take a look at this now, what I've done is I've increased the size. I've increased the size of this piece of art so that it has 1/8 of an inch bleed all the way around it. So when I put this into a mechanical later on, it'll go, and let me go to the view menu, and let me go to guides and hide the guides. All right, now I have extra bleed area here that I can use to make sure that I'm not going to have any trouble with this artwork being the correct size for my label, okay? All right, so now let's go back to the hot sauce bottle, because I'm going to work on this first. So I have my hot sauce bottle here, all right? And I worked on this last week, and I had some problems with it, and I just want to make sure that you understand how this gets done. So what I'm going to do with this thing is I'm going to actually produce this thing one more time. So I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to move this guy off to the right here, get it out of the way. All right, now I have 2 things here. I have this piece of art that I created right there, all right? And what this is basically, let me go to, let me go to my symbols. See, and what it is basically, it's my cap symbol. And with this selected, I'm going to go break link to symbol. And now I have this thing, the link has been broken to it, and I can go object ungroup, and I can show you what this is. Object ungroup. Let me see if I can get this thing to ungroup. I might have to go object expand it. I might have to expand it. Expand, fill, and stroke. Okay. Yeah, and now I did it. Okay, and now let's try object ungroup. See if I got it now. Yeah, so here it is. This is what this is. Let me zoom in on this, and you'll see what it is. Okay, what this is basically is it's a little gradient. Look, there's a gradient fill. It's a little gradient, okay? And the gradient basically is a dark gray to black, all right? And by repeating this, let me go to the view menu and let's fit artboard and window. And let's go edit, undo, move. Let me zoom in on this. By repeating this over and over again like I did here, I get this thing right there. And what that looks like is that looks like the threads that you would find on a cap, a cap for such a thing as a water bottle or a bottle of hot sauce. So that's how I created this. And then I just made it into a symbol by selecting the whole thing and dragging and dropping it into here. And I end up with this, which is the symbol of this particular piece. This here is the symbol. For some reason, I can't get it to move. You know why? Let me go here. Control Z. Let's see. Okay, let's go. Let's try it now. Bring it out. There. There you go. Now I can move it. It was the other was selected. This is a symbol. This is the symbol. And the symbol is what I need to put this on the cap of the bottle. I can't use this. This has got to be turned into a symbol. These are individual little graphic pieces. See? They're all little individual graphic pieces here. And I'm going to select all this and delete it. This is a symbol. This is an instance of a symbol, actually. That's what this is. This is an instance of a symbol. And it can't be broken apart. What I can do, though, is I can double-click on it, or I can double-click here, and I can go into this symbol, and I can go in and modify the internal workings of this symbol. Okay, like for instance, I can get the direct selection tool, and I should be able to grab that and move it. See what I'm doing? But I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess my symbol up. I'm just trying to show you what's going on here. And if I back out, okay, what I have here is I have an instance of my symbol on my page. So let's go view, fit, artboard, and window. Okay. Now I also have this here, which is an instance of my label. Okay. This is the modified label that I'm going to be putting on my model that I'm going to create of my bottle. So I have a, and I used my label, my hot sauce label. All right. I'm in the hot sauce label now. I used my hot sauce label. Okay. And I turned it into a symbol and I brought it into here. So now I have a symbol for my label and I have a symbol for my cap. And I can throw these instances away and I can drag these out as many times as I want. I can take out as many of these as I want. And these are instances, and I can drag out as many of these as I want. Okay? Now, I'm not going to be using them this way. I am going to be using them when I create my bottle graphics. All I'm trying to do is to orient you to how I'm doing this. And it's absolutely essential that in order for you to create a 3D rendered bottle or box the way that I'm going to do it, by going to the effect menu and going to 3D, extrude and bevel, and revolve, okay? It's essential to put graphics on these 3D extrusions or revolves. You have to have symbols to apply. So that's why I'm showing you this and how I went about doing it, okay? Let's see here. Yeah, see, here are my symbols. Let me see if I can go edit, undo. I'll show you. Undo, clear. Okay, so here's how you make a symbol. This is the artwork before it's been made into a symbol. This is my label before it's been made into a symbol. I have the symbol panel open, and I have these graphics in here, and I don't want any of those graphics. I'm not going to be using these graphics whatsoever. So the first thing that I do in the symbols panel, and of course the symbols panel does come from the window menu, symbols, right there. Okay, so I'm going to come into the pancake menu, and I'm going to select all the unused elements that are in the symbols panel. And I'm going to hit the garbage can. And that basically is going to ask me, do I want to delete the symbols that are in there? And I do, because I don't want any of these symbols for anything. I'm not going to use them in my project. So I want them gone. So I'm going to delete all them, yes. And they're all gone. So now what I want to do is I want to turn my label into a symbol so that I can apply my symbol to my package, all right? So I'm going to select the whole thing, click and drag and drop it in. and I get the symbol options dialog box, and I'm going to call this label, L-A-B-L-E, label, because that's what it is. It's actually the label. And I'm going to change it from movie clip to a graphic. And then I'm just going to leave everything the way it is and hit OK. And now expand it. OK, there we go. So it's expanded. So now I have my symbol in here. And notice that this is no longer, when I click on it, this is no longer an original piece of art. The original piece of art's in here. This is an instance of the symbol. OK, so that's basically how you go about creating a symbol. Now, I'm going to delete this, all right? I'm going to delete it, delete the instances and the symbol, because I'm not going to be using that particular symbol on my box. I am going to create symbols from the front panel, one of the sides, the back, and perhaps the top. So I'm going to get rid of the symbols panel, and right now I have nothing in there. I'm going to get back to this. I'm not going to be doing this right this second. So let's go back to the hot sauce bottle, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers panel, and I'm going to show the sample layer, okay? It's locked. I have an art layer and a cap layer up here. I have a draw label, a label layer, and then I'm going to use the draw layer for myself to draw the bottle again. This is something that I did last week. I'm just going to do it again so that you can see how I did it, to make sure that you completely understand the process involved. So I found a nice picture of bottles online. That's basically what I did. I went online, I found a really nice picture of bottles, the kind of bottles that I would like to use in my project. So here it is. This is the project. This is the bottle. This is what I want to use. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to start off by making my fill and my stroke to the default colors. And what I want to do is I want to remove the fill. So it's got no fill, and all it has is a black stroke on it. Okay? So that's the way I want to start setting this thing up. It's got a black stroke and no fill. I'm going to start off with the rectangle tool, okay? And I think I want the rounded rectangle tool. And I'm going to come a little further. First of all, just so that you know, I got a guide here. And I put this guide right down the middle of the bottle as much as I could. I just tried to imagine where the middle of the bottle is, and I placed my guide there, okay? So that's an important thing. And I've got the sample layer locked so that when I draw on this, you know, this layer is locked. I can't interact with it. Any layers that I don't need, I've hidden. The only one that's showing is the draw layer and the sample layer, because I'm going to use the sample layer as my mock-up for when I create my my cap and my bottle. All right, so with the rounded rectangle selected, I'm going to come past come past where the guide is, and I'm going to hold the shift key down, or not. Actually, I'm not going to hold the shift key down. I'm just going to draw a label out like this. And if you work with your arrow keys in the lower right hand corner of your screen, you can very carefully use the up arrow to make the corners rounder, the down arrow to make the corners square. Okay? So I want my corners to be round. So I'm going to make it round by using the up arrow to make the corners round. And I think I want them to be about that round right there. And then I'm going to let go. And that is what I end up with. Watch when I zoom in on this thing. You'll see what's going on here. All right? I'm going to take this, hide the background layer, and I end up with something like this. All right? So now what I want to do is I want to select the direct selection tool, because what my goal is to take one of these corners. The direct selection tool allows me to choose just one section of my shape. If I use the regular selection tool, it selects the entire shape, which is not what I want. I want to make this corner, I want to leave this corner rounded, and I want to make that corner square. So by clicking on the direct selection tool, you can see all these little corners start showing up. And what I can do is click on this one right here, and if I drag it out, you see what it does? It squares that corner. Oh, actually, edit, undo, corners. I did forget one thing, and that is to click on just those two little corners. Now you see how that one is selected by itself because I selected both of those corners. And now I can click and I can drag just that one corner, and I can make that one corner square. That is the look that I'm going for, okay? And I did that with the direct selection tool, and I come over here and I clicked on the anchor point, hold down the shift key, click the other anchor point, and I've selected those anchor points. You can see only that one little corner is selected, and I can then make it square like I did right there. I don't want to do it because I want that corner to be curved like this, okay? But that's how I do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I'm going to bring my sample back up. And I need you to understand that I want my cap to end on my guide. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go to where my eraser tool is, and I'm going to choose the scissors tool. And I'm going to come up here very carefully, and I'm going to sit right on that line or that cap shape that I created, and I'm going to click. I got to make sure I hit it right. I got to get right on that line. There we go. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom in the same position, and I'm going to click on there. And now what I've done is this. Watch. I'm going to hide the shape. Watch what I did. I click on this, and I hit delete, and I've actually cut this shape, and I've cut it into an open shape, okay? That is what I'm looking for. That is the shape that I am going to use to create the cap of my little bottle, okay? And I got it from here. See it? I've just basically more or less copied the shape that's there, okay? And I only need half of it. I need what's known as a profile. Now, if you close this image, you'll see what I'm talking about with a profile. That's a profile. Profile shows you an edge of what that shape looks like. Profile. That's what I created, a profile. And that's how I did it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this little lip area right here, and then I'm going to create the bottle. So to create the little lip area, once again, I'm in the drawer layer, and I'm going to actually, let me go to this one here, and we're going to call this done. Done. D-O-N-E, done. Yeah. And I'm going to select my cap, and I'm going to move the cap up to the done layer, okay? And then I'm going to once again hide that layer. And now the little cap is sitting up on the done layer, and I no longer have that in the way. All right, and I go back to the draw layer, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to choose the ellipse tool. And once again, I'm going to come way over to here. I don't want to hold the shift key down. I'm just going to come over, and I'm going to drag out an ellipse. And the ellipse should be something like this. It should be something like that. There's my ellipse. Okay, and maybe I could make that. Maybe I could make that top part of it just a tiny bit bigger. Like that would be good. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to get my direct selection tool. If you come over to the extreme right of the tool, there's a little area here that's called a tab. And if you click that, you can pop these tools out. And I can bring those tools over here so I can better work with them. And what I want to do is I want to click on the direct selection tool, because what I want to do is I want to select just this. One anchor point, and I'm going to start modifying this anchor point. I'm going to do this by bringing this in. Let me bring it up first of all, like that, and let me bring this guy up like that, okay? And you can see what I'm getting is I'm getting more of the shape that I'm looking for, okay? Now this one here, I might actually pull it out more. I didn't get it. Let me try it again. There, let me click on that. Let me pull that out more. Let me hold the shift key down and pull it out more. That's good. And I think I might do this. Well, I don't even think I have to do it with that one. That's pretty good. That's pretty much the shape that I'm looking for, okay? I'm looking for this kind of a shape. Look at it. See what I'm looking for? That's basically the shape that I'm looking for right there. Now, maybe what I'll do is I'll maybe just straighten this out slightly. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so now watch when I deselect this, what I got. I got that shape right there, all right? And that's pretty much what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here with my direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on that anchor point. And then what I'm going to do is use the right arrow key or the left arrow key to move that anchor point over to here. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one on the bottom, and I'm going to move that anchor point over to here, to the guide, all right? And then I'm going to click here, and what I may end up doing is I may end up actually bringing this one up just a tiny bit, a little tiny bit, just like that. And I actually may bring the bottom one down just a tiny bit as well, and just like that. And now let's just take a look and see what that shape looks like when I hide the sample. See, it looks great. See how that comes out perfectly? Look at that shape. And what I've done is essentially I've just modified the shape to where it fits that lip by just playing with the anchor points and the direct selection tool. Really simple if you try to do it. So what I want to do now is I want to cut this shape to this line. Everything is going to get cut to this line because I'm creating profiles for everything. So I need everything to be cut to the same position, which is that line right there. So I'm going to select this. Once again, get the scissors tool, and I'm going to carefully come in here, and I'm going to click and cut that line. And then I'm going to come up here, and I'm making sure I'm sitting right on my guide, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to cut that. Now watch what I do. I'm going to hide this, and then I'm going to select this piece right here and delete it. And there you see I have my shape. When I bring my done out, you can see how I've created two shapes that are going to become part of my bottle. That's basically how you create this. We're creating what are known as profiles of the bottle. So now let's go back in and let me move this up to the done layer as well, put them up on the done layer. So now I have that on the done layer, and I can hide the done layer. And now I'm going to start drawing the bottle. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, drawing the bottle. I'm going to go view, and I'm going to go zoom out, and I'm going to start drawing this bottle. And this is where you really got to be a little bit careful with this. Let me go view, zoom out one more time. Okay, and I'm going to actually draw this bottle. Let me get that up to about there. All right, so let me explain how this gets done. First of all, just like everything else, I have to start on this guide, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on the draw layer, because I work on the draw layer and then I move everything up to the done layer when I get it done. So I'm going to get the pen tool, and I'm going to come over here, and on that guide, somewhere right about there is fine. Anywhere, as long as it's up inside the cap area, I'm going to click on that guide and place an anchor point. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to come over to right about there, and I'm going to click to place an anchor point. Then I'm going to come way down to here, okay, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to create another little line segment. Then I'm going to come over to about here, and I'm going to click carefully, and I'm going to try to get that line segment, and I actually have a little bit of a problem with it, so I'm holding the space bar down to move it into position better. And I'm going to click to try to place that line segment right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up to that anchor point, and I'm going to click on that anchor point. Now I'm going to move right to here. I'm not going to go very far, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to more or less drag sort of straight down, just like that, to create that curve right there. And I'm going to click again. Now I'm going to move my artboard down a little bit, and I'm going to come way down to the bottom, way down to here, click, and then I'm going to come to about here, click and drag to create that that area that wraps around that edge, just like that. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to come over to my guide, click, and double click. And then I can come up here and get my regular selection tool. And now if I go to my hide my sample layer, you can see what I've done is I've created a bottle. Now I got a problem. I can see right away I got a bit of a problem with an area of the bottle right in here. This area is a little bit funky. So what I'm going to do is select it, and I'm going to see if I can locate my tool here. Let's see where my tool is. I'm looking for my, give me a second here. I think it's there. It is the smooth tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to see if I can smooth this out. First of all, I got to get this thing selected. And then I'm going to choose the smooth tool. And I'm just going to go over this a tiny bit. And you see how that smoothed it. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag along that edge. And I've smoothed it. I'm going to do it again to smooth it some more. And it's actually bulging it out a little bit more than I like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select this thing. And I'm going to see if I can maybe just take this and move it in just a tiny bit like that. And I think that actually did it. Yeah, it's okay. It's a little bit weird at that point, but I think it's close enough to work. I think if I come over here, let me see if I go to this one here. If I click on that guy right there, let's see. Control Z. Actually, that's pretty flat. So I think probably what I want to do, I want to maybe bulge this out just a touch. That might do it. Let's see. I think that's probably close enough. It is a little bit weird at that point. I could continue playing with this a little bit, and maybe let me hit it with the smooth tool one more time and see whether that helps. It does, but then it bulges it out. And you know what? I think I could go with that. I think it'd be fine. Let me go to the view menu. Let me fit artboard and window, and let's see what we got. We have this thing here. My problem is this right here. Okay, that's my problem. I need that to come up. I need that to come way up. Okay, I need that to go way up, right like this, and I'll have to adjust it. There we go. And I don't know whether there's one here as well. Yeah, I need that to be, I need to delete that anchor point. So I got a couple, it looks like I picked up a couple of anchor points in here, and looks like I'm going to have to get rid of them. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get my delete anchor point tool right there. And I'm going to see whether I can delete a couple of these anchor points. I think it's that one. Let me see. Hold on. Let me try it again. Let me find that anchor point. It's there, right there. So I'm going to delete that anchor point. Okay. And that might do it. I might only have had to get rid of that one. I don't think there's another one. No, but I do have to fix this. This thing here is a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can sort of straighten this out with the smooth tool. And yeah, I got a bunch of anchor points in there that have to be dealt with. So let me try to remove that anchor point right there. And click on that anchor point right there. Okay, and this one now comes down to here. So what I need to do is I need to bring this anchor point back up. Let's see if I can do it. Bring it up. Bring it up. There we go. Bring it up until I get a curve, which is, there we go. There we go. There we go. Now we're in business. That looks good. That looks much better. That looks pretty good. And now I pick up another anchor point here, so I want to get rid of that anchor point. I don't want a lot of anchor points here. The reason I don't want a lot of anchor points here is because I want to put my label in here. So I don't want a lot of anchor points in here. So when I click on this, I got an anchor point that's here, and I got anchor points here, but I got that whole open area right in there that I can put my label on. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's go view, and let's take a look and see what we got. That bottle looks pretty good now, all right? That bottle looks pretty good. See how that has a nice curve to it? Good bottle, good solid bottle. All right, so now let's go back to the layers panel, and let's choose done. Now you can see that I have a couple of other things here. I have this shape right there. I have this shape. These two shapes belong together. They belong together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift select those two shapes, okay? I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to go down to Pathfinder, right there, and I'm going to combine those two shapes together, and I get that. Now, there's a problem. It automatically threw this back line in here, and I don't want that back line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that back line away, and I'm going to do that with the scissors tool. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click and cut that away, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click and cut that away. Okay, now watch, and I delete this, and I have my open shape, one continuous open shape, my bottle, my main bottle shape. Now I noticed something, and it looks to me like this. Let me just check this position here. I want to make sure that my line, yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm making sure that my line goes properly to my guide, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. I want to see whether my line goes properly to my guide, and it actually looks like it does. I think we're in pretty good shape. Let me see where it is. Yeah, see how that goes right to that guide right there? And I'm sure if I go down to the bottom, you see how that is right on that guide right there? So we're in good shape. And as you can see, one more thing, I just want to show you one more thing. There are my little anchor points way down here at the bottom, and my other anchor point is way up here at the top. So I got that whole center area that I can put a label on this bottle, okay? So now I have my bottle and I have my cap created. So let's go to the view menu and let's fit artboard and window, and let me hide my background. This I'm done with for now. And this I think I'm done with for now. This I'm done with. This I'm done with. And I think this I'm done with for now. So what I want to do is I want to go to my layers panel, and I'm going to hide my sample. So let's focus for a minute on our cap and our bottle. Now, the thing that you need to understand is that I made the cap first. So the cap is actually behind the bottle. So if I were to try to render this, the bottle would render in front of the cap. So what I want to do is I want to select the cap or the bottle. Either way, I'm going to select the cap. I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay? And now that is in front of that, it should be in front of that bottle. The cap is going to be black, so I'm going to leave the stroke set to black. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on the bottle. The bottle is not going to be black. The bottle is going to be a transparent light bluish gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with that stroke selected and that stroke active in my panel. I'm going to take my color slider and bring it up to here, and then I'm going to bring my hues into the blue area right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this up and I'm going to come in here and I'm kind of going to find myself a nice light blue. And I want it to be fairly light, so it's going to go to about there, and I'm going to hit OK. Now watch this. When I deselect it, you've got a black cap and you got a blue bottle. So when I select both of these guys, all right, and I'm on the done layer, this is going to be my render layer, R-E-N-D-E-R. So I'm changing the name of this layer from whatever it was to render. All right, and I'm going to hide the draw layer, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Effect menu, 3D, and I'm going to revolve this because I want you to see what happens. And I'm just going to leave it set to this setting right here, and I'm going to hit Preview, and there it is. It's rendered my bottle, okay? That's my bottle rendered. All right, now I'm going to cancel this because I'm not really done. First of all, that blue is probably too dark, so what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to lighten the blue a bit because it's too dark. I'm going to make it even lighter like that. It's going to be lighter. Actually, I didn't have it selected, so let me do it again. Let me lighten it. It's got to be a little bit lighter like that. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to create the hot sauce inside the bottle. So how I do that basically is I select the bottle that I've rendered and I go Edit Copy and actually, yeah, edit, copy, and then edit, paste in place. All right. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to use the arrow keys to arrow key it over 2 times. And now I'm going to come up here with my scissors tool, and right about here, I'm going to click and I'm going to cut away this top part of that bottle. Okay? And then I'm going to click on this part, and I'm going to change the color of it from that light gray color to a hot red. Let me come in here and let me get a hot red. Something like that's probably pretty good. Brighter maybe? That's probably pretty good right there. Maybe it's actually darker. It's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so now look, see? That's a darker red. So if I select all 3 of these things, and actually what I need to do is I need to come back here and I need to actually go in on my red, and I need to get my pen tool, and I need to come over here and click on the top point of my little red line and hold the shift key down and come over to my guide and click to place an anchor point right there. Okay, so that, watch what happens when I shut this down. You can see I've actually got that little piece attached to this piece right here. So now if I go view, fit, artboard, and window, I have a cap, and I have this, all right, and I have this, which I'm going to go object, arrange, bring to front. Okay, and now I'm going to select all 3 of these, and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the effect menu, and I'm going to go to 3D, and I'm going to revolve it, and I'm going to just hit preview, and you can see it revolves it. I'm going to hit OK. Now here's the problem. The problem is that the revolving bottle is covering up that sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Window, Transparency, okay, and I'm going to bring the transparency out, and I'm going to change the level of transparency to darker, okay. I don't know exactly which one I want to use. I think what it was soft light. Yeah, soft light's pretty good. Overlay, let's try overlay. That's pretty good too. That looks really good. I think actually soft light looks really good. So now you can see that I basically got my, and this thing's probably a little high, so I'm going to bring it down, bring that down to about there. So now I got that, and I got this, okay, and I'm just going to move that over 1, just like that. So now I have my bottle rendered, and I have my hot sauce rendered, okay, and it looks pretty good. So this is basically how we're going to make a bottle mock-up. And I mean, as you can see here, this is a spectacular piece. If you do this and you put it on your Behance site, it's going to look great. So basically what I want to do is I want to finish this. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to my appearance panel, and I'm going to take my 3D revolve and delete it, okay? And what I'm going to do is one more thing, and that is I'm going to select this guy again. I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, all right? And then I'm going to move it over a little bit to about right there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors tool, and I'm going to come right to here. I think I'm going to come right to there, right to that anchor point, and I'm going to cut that anchor point. Okay, so now I can throw this top area away, just like that, and I'm going to select this like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with my scissors tool. I'm going to come down to the first little anchor point and click and cut it. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to throw that away. Now I'm going to go back to my layers panel, and I'm going to show my sample. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take my little line, which now I can't see it. Let me see if I can actually get it. Let me get it in place. So I'm going to click on this. Okay, and then I'm going to show my sample. There it is. You see it? And I'm going to bring my sample over and I'm going to place it right where that original blue line is, which is right next to the red line. Probably right there is pretty good. All right, now I'm going to hide this sample layer. All right, actually I can't because I need my guide. You know what I could do though? Let me come in here and unlock this. Let me click on that guide. All right, let me go to the window menu and let me go to guides, view, guides, unlock guides, and let me click on that guide. And I'm going to actually bring the guide up to the draw layer. And then I'm going to show the draw layer, and I'm going to hide the sample layer. Okay, and now I have in here somewhere my little piece. There's my little piece. See my little piece right there? And it's probably sitting in a good spot. It might have to come over slightly. All right, now what I want to do is I want to take this little piece, and again, I want to take my pen tool, and I want to click on that anchor point right there. And then I want to hold the shift key, and I want to come over and I want to place it right on that guide, just like that. Okay? All right? And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to get my my pen tool again and come over here and carefully click on that anchor point. Hold the shift key down and come over to that. Again, double click it. Control Z. I accidentally, yeah, there we go. There, okay. So now I have another piece right here, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that white. All right, I'm going to make that all the way white, just like that, white. Okay, and hit OK. Now watch what happens when I select all of this. Now watch what happens. I'm going to go to the Effect menu, 3D, and I'm going to revolve it. And I'm going to come in here and preview it. And there you have it. Okay, you can see that white label's there. I'm going to hit cancel because what I need to do is I need to click on that white and I need to go edit cut. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to select all of this and I'm going to go edit paste in front. All right, now let's try it again, and that should let me see if I have transparency here. There we go. All right, so let me go Effect, 3D, and revolve. And hit preview. And there it is, but I think, let me hit OK. I think what the problem is I think that this little guy right here has a soft light on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that and make it normal. Now you can see what I'm going for. There is my bottle, and this element right here is what I'm going to apply my label to. All right, so this element is going to end up being my label. So what I need to do is I need to just come over here and get the direct selection tool because I noticed it's off just a tiny bit. So I'm going to click on that anchor point and I'm going to hit the left arrow key to move it just one time. See how I made it a little bit bigger? And actually I don't even think I need to do that down here because I think we're good. It's covered it just well. So I think we're good. So here's what we're going to do. I've got this piece selected here. I'm going to go into my appearance panel and I'm going to go to 3D Revolve. I'm going to hit Preview. And before I do this, do I have my symbol in there? Let me hit Cancel. Let me go to my symbols. My label is in there. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do now that I've done this. I've got my label in here and I have my cap art in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my label to this shape and I'm going to apply my cap to this shape. So let's start off by doing this label first. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, it's selected, just this one piece is selected, and I'm going to double click on Revolve and hit Preview. Then I'm going to go into Map Art, okay, and I have different surfaces. What I'm looking for is the front surface. I think that's the front surface right there. It's number 7, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to get my label. Okay, and it's rendering the artwork. There's my label. You can see my labels on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale my label down to fit the front of this thing. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's try it now. Rendering, bring it down. Let me bring it down to the size. Okay, and I'm going to take this and move it down, so I got to get to the top of it. All right, just got to be patient with this because this takes a little bit of doing. hold down the shift key, and I'm going to make this thing smaller until it fits, like about like that. And just keep adjusting this thing until you get it sized. I can scale to fit it, but I don't want to do that. I'm scaling it by hand. I'm doing it myself. And I'm scaling this thing down. And there. Now it's pretty much on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just move it over until I get it sort of situated in the middle where I want it. Which is, that's pretty good right there. Actually, that's real good. It looks very natural. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to deselect it. And I'm going to go to the guide. And I'm going to go View, Guide, Hide Guide. And there is my label. My label has been applied to my 3D mock-up. I still have to deal with this thing, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. But what I want to do first is I want to show you how to deal with the cap. So I'm going to select the cap. And notice in the appearance panel, you could see where with that cap selected, you could see where it says 3D Revolve. So if you click on this to edit it, again, you get the 3D Revolve options dialog box. You hit Preview, and then you hit Map Art. And now what we're going to do is the same exact thing. You're going to look up here, and you're going to go through the different, there are different, see, there's different surfaces. And what you're going to do is you're going to look for the surface. I think the last one is 7. Yeah, 7. I think it's 7. Yeah. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I have my label and my cap. I'm going to click on my cap, and that brings my cap up. And if you look carefully, you can see the cap over here. It's just coming onto the surface. So I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to put it on the surface. All right? And I'm going to get it positioned on the surface. It looks like I'm going to have to drag it out and make it a little bit wider to get it to wrap around that surface. So I'm actually going to drag it. I think I'm going to drag it pretty far out, just like that. And now I want a little bit of it not showing at the very bottom, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. See how I've got a little bit of black at the bottom there? I want a little bit more of it, I think. And maybe a little bit more. That's probably pretty good. Now if I hit OK, and hit OK, and I deselect it, look at that. I got a pretty darn good looking bottle with my graphics on it. That is basically how you render the bottle if you choose to do it, okay? Now, there's one more thing I need to do, and what I need to do is I need to get rid of this right here. Now, the way to do that is to select that one piece, all right? Now, I'm not selecting the rest of this bottle. I'm just selecting the piece that I used to put the label on it. And what I'm going to do is go to the Object menu, and I'm going to expand it, or raster, expand it. There we go. Expand it. And I've expanded this thing. Now let's see if I go, actually, before I do this, let me select all of these other elements. Let me get the regular selection tool. Let me select all these other elements, and let me go to my layers panel, and let me bring them down to my draw layer so I can lock these guys so that they don't interfere with the work that I'm about to do. Okay, so now I have this guy selected, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see if I can do it with my group selection tool. I get my group selection tool, and if I click on this and click on that, I can delete it. There we go. Yep, that's going to work. Delete that. So what I'm doing is I'm deleting elements that I don't want. And actually, I think I need to do it this way. There we go. Now we've got it. And I want to get rid of this stuff here too. Delete that. I'm deleting everything that I don't want. I got to be very careful how I do this. All right, but I'm deleting the stuff that I don't want. Okay, and actually probably the best way to do this is to zoom in on it so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm using the group selection tool, and I'm just clicking and deleting stuff. There's stuff in here, pieces, see, and they're going away, and it's going to end up leaving me with just a label. It's going to be very cool because in the end I'll just have that label, which is what I'm looking for, just a label. I'm almost there. I think I got like one more to go there. There we go. That should be good enough. And I'll click that and delete it. And I'm just going to click and delete all this gray stuff. I'm going to leave everything else. delete all the gray stuff. There's a lot of it there. So you're going to have to work on this a little tiny bit to get it to work. Okay, there we go. And now let's go to the View menu, Fit Artboard and Window, and let me bring my draw layer back. And there you have it. Look at that. There's my entire bottle with a rendered label on it. I think it looks pretty tremendous. So that's basically what I wanted to show you how to do. And you could do this. It's just a matter of following the steps that, that I used to create this. Okay? So there it is. That's basically how to create the bottle part of this. So I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call it Hot Sauce Bottle Complete. Okay, and hit Save. So there's the hot sauce bottle. All right, and hit OK. All right, and let's save it. Okay, I'm just going to move this thing over here for now. All right, and now we have our hot sauce label. So this is my label. And if what I'm going to do first of all is come over here and I'm going to delete this particular hot sauce bottle because we have the other one now. Let's delete it. And let's actually delete this artboard as well. Let me delete this artboard as well. Delete. Okay, and now let me move this over to here. And this is going to become my hot sauce label. So what you want to do with this is you want to, let's go to the View menu and let's go to Guides and Show Guides. There's my guides. So there is actually a couple of ways that you could do this. And I think probably the best way to do it would be to select your artboard, okay, and make your artboard come on, let's do it again. There we go. Make your artboard just a little bit bigger than the art itself. All right, bring it in like that, in like that, in like that, and in like that. And bring it down like this. All right. Now, this is your label. Let's go to the View menu and let's go to Guides and let's hide the guides. Okay, so there is your artwork. That's the artwork for your final label, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that your colors are all for, because there's several colors that we're using in here, you want to make sure that they're all process colors. So the color type is process color. If you want, you can switch this to CMYK, but it isn't going to stick. The most important thing is the process color right there. Okay, so that's what you want to make sure that your color is set to process color and hit OK. And then you want to click on this one here the same way, double click on it, make sure it's process color. You can switch this to CMYK if you want as well. It shows you the CMYK numbers, but it still reads the RGB numbers up here. So don't worry about that. Just worry about the fact that it's a process color and hit OK. And you're going to do the same thing with this, where you're going to come in here, check that it's process color. They all are in my case. You can change it to CMYK, but it's not going to stick. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Hit OK. Now watch when I double click on that color. Can you see it went back to RGB? So don't worry about that. It's not a problem. The important thing is that it's process color. The other option that's in here is a spot color. And you don't want to use spot color. You want to make sure that they are not set to spot color, that they are set, in fact, to process color. Very important. Spot colors are when the color is going to be an individual color that comes out of a can. It's not part of a process color environment where you have colors that break out into CMYK. That's what you have to understand. So you want process color for these colors. I'm going to hit OK. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go File, Save As, a copy, and I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to, let's see what I got here. I can save it as a PDF, Adobe PDF. So I'm going to save this hot sauce label, and I'm going to remove the word copy from it, okay? And I'm going to go to, yeah, let's go to week 4. PDF and hit save. A PDF would be fine. And I'm just going to leave the basic settings. Actually, I'll change it. No, I'll leave it basic settings for now, because this is just an example, and hit save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to go to File, Save As. Let's see if it's in Save As. It's not. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Illustrator EPS. I'm wrong. It's in Illustrator EPS. So let me click on EPS and hit save. EPS stands for Encapsulated PostScript File, which is a vector-based file that's used in the printing environment. And we're about to bring this into Adobe InDesign and create a Adobe InDesign file, which is what you would be sending to a printer. Okay, so basically I'm saving it as an EPS and a PDF, and the reason I'm doing that is because, and watch when I come in here to my week 4, you'll see in here that there's a hot sauce label encapsulated PostScript, and there's a hot sauce label Adobe Acrobat document, which essentially is a PDF. Okay, either one of these two will work just fine. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to open up InDesign. Let me open up InDesign. All right, I'll bring this back into here while we're waiting. So I'm opening up InDesign because what I want to do is I want to set up an InDesign document. You don't have to do this. It's not part of your assignment. But I wanted to do it because I think it's important for you to understand that, you know, when you create a document like this, it's going to be printed. Chances are that it's going to be printed in Adobe InDesign, or it's going to be printed from Adobe InDesign. So really the correct way to do this would be to create an InDesign document. So I'm going to do that so that you could see me do it. Then I'm going to show you the other way to do this, which would be to put crop marks on the actual piece in Illustrator and save it. And then I'll show you how to save it as a JPEG so that you can upload it to your Behance site. And we should be done with the label, and we should be done with the bottle. Then all we have to worry about is the finishing up the box and finishing up the mock-up of the box. And that will be, and again, you don't even have to do the bottle. I just did the bottle for you because the bottle is fascinating. It's a very interesting thing to do. And it will improve your mock-up presentation tremendously. And if you do it, if you're willing to spend the time to do it, I think you're going to find that your customers, the people that you're going to go to see either for work or for a project, are going to be very impressed to see that you've done that and you know how to do it. So that's basically why I'm spending the time to show you how to do it, so that, you know, you can try to do it and you can learn how to do it and learn a great skill, because it's a tremendous skill. So, okay, so here comes InDesign. And take a minute. This thing is always kind of slow. These programs are always kind of slow starting up. Yeah, see, it's still, give it a second. Still in the process of opening. Here we go. File, new document. And it's going to be a print document. I don't know how much you know about Adobe InDesign, but it's not that difficult. I'm just going to choose print because it's a print document. And then what I'm going to do here is, I don't know whether you remember or not, but I did actually measure my label, and I do have numbers for my label. So my width of the label, which is going to be set in inches, is 6.8211 inches. And then my height was 6.0 .3205 inches. There's going to be one page. It's not going to be facing, so it's one page, one column. Now, this is important. I'm going to come down into the margin, and I'm going to set no margins on this. I don't need any margins on this, so I'm going to set the margins to none, okay? But I am going to go to bleed and slug. Now, very important, if you remember what I did, when I was working on my label, before I actually went in and I started making my 3D bottle mock-up, I added 1/8 of an inch all the way around my piece of art for bleed, okay? And actually, I'm in the wrong place. Slug, I'm going to add 0.5 slug and go back here. I made a mistake. The bleed is right here. I need to set the bleed, not to 0, but to 0.125. Now, I want my bleed to be 0.125 all the way around, from the top to the bottom to the left to the right. 1.125 is equal to 1/8 of an inch, okay? So let me hit create, and let's see what we come up with. And here it comes. See, again, it's processing it, so it's thinking and it's being stubborn. So give it a second to create its document. All right, now, in reality, this is very similar to what we did in Adobe Illustrator with our box. The lines that you see here, let me go to the view menu, let me go to guides and hide the guides. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. View guides, show guides. What are these guides right here? What are they? Oh, I know what that is. That's my whatchamacallit, let me go in there and fix that. Let's go to File, Document Setup, and I have to just fix this slug all the way around. There we go. Okay, that's a slug. Okay, the slug is extra space that you allow for printer marks. Okay, so here's the similarity between this piece, which is a label, and the hot sauce box. Let me come in here and, yeah, let me just go to my layers and let me hide my graphics and my background, and let me bring the bleed out. Okay, so no, I didn't get the bleed over there, did I? Darn it anyway. I'll be damned. Jesus, that's annoying. Let's see if I got it. It's pretty close. Yeah, I think that'll be good enough. That's close enough for us. Okay, so here's the bleed, and here is the die line or the trim, either way. Okay. Now, the only thing that my InDesign document does not have is it does not have folds, because this is not going to fold. This line right there, it represents the trim. This line right there represents the bleed. Okay. So let me go view zoom out, and this is basically what I've created to put my label into. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my frame tool, or rectangular frame tool, and I'm going to come out to my bleed, right to my bleed right there. And I'm going to drag a shape all the way down and to the other end, right out to the bleed, all the way out there. So as you can see, my frame is going from bleed to bleed to bleed to bleed, cover the entire surface of my image. All I'm going to do is go to the File menu with this frame selected and go to Place. And then I'm going to go into week 4 on my desktop. Let me go on my desktop. And I'm going to go into week 4. Come on. Yep, we're there. Week 4 right there. And I have my hot sauce label, which is my Adobe PDF, or my hot sauce label, which is my encapsulated postscript. Either one of these are acceptable. I'm going to click the postscript, and I'm going to hit Open. And automatically, the label comes in, and if I go to the Object menu and go to Fitting, and then Fit Content Proportionately, now that is fitted proportionately. If I go to the View menu and go to Display Performance High Quality Display, there's what my label looks like. And if I go to the View menu and go to Screen Mode Preview, now you are seeing exactly what that printed label is going to look like. Watch when I go to View Menu and go back to Screen Mode, Normal. You're seeing it what it looks like. There's my bleed. So what's going on here now is that little bit of red is going to be beyond the trim area right here. This trim area right there is where the actual piece is going to trim out of the material. And so you're going to have red go right up to the trim, right up to the trim, right up to the trim, and right up to the trim because it bleeds 1/8 of an inch further out. So that is the important point that I want to make with this, okay? So now if you wanted to send this to a printer, you would go File, let's see here, Export, and you'd export it. They're going to call this Final Label, F-I-N-A-L-L-A-B-L-E, Final Label. And once again, I'm going to choose Desktop, and I'm going to go into Week 4, L-A-B, not L-A-B, L-A-B-L-E, label, Final Label, and hit Save, all right? And we get the Export Adobe PDF. There are a number of settings that you could use. Probably the one that you would want to use is press quality, or maybe these PDFs, depending upon if your printer asks you. But let me just quickly explain to you what these settings are. One of them is called press quality, one is called high quality print, and the other is smallest file size. So the reason you would use smallest file size is if you were creating a PDF that would be displayed on a browser. So if you have something that you're going to put in association with a website and you want to open it up on a browser, then you would maybe use smallest file size. High quality print is if you are creating a document that would be printed off of a color copier in a place like Staples or Kinko's, where they need a resolution of around 180 pixels per inch. That's basically the print quality that you would use for their press quality, which is the one that I'm going to choose, okay? And I'll read it to you. Use these settings to create Adobe PDF documents best suited for high quality pre-press printing. Creating PDF documents can be opened with Adobe Acrobat Reader 5.0 or later. So the bottom line is press quality is for the 4-color process printing or pre-press printing. So that's why I'm choosing this one. You don't have to go to all this trouble, but I figured since I have the time, it's a good idea to explain to you, since this is a print project, I should probably explain to you exactly what the right methodology would be for you to prepare this piece to go to a printer. This is the right way to do it, okay? Now, you would go into the marks and bleeds here, and you have a whole series of printer marks here, okay? And you would basically, you have a choice. You could put all the printer's marks there by just clicking here, and now all the printer's marks are going to show up, and they are crop marks, bleed marks, registration marks, color bars, page information. Or you could have your printer tell you, well, Bill, we don't need all these marks. The only thing that I really need, I only need crop marks, so I don't need bleed marks. I need registration marks. I don't need color bars, and I don't need page information. So if your printer was to say to you, Bill, I only want to see crop marks and I want to see registration marks, you could individually deselect bleed marks, color bars, and page information, and then you would hit export and you would get just those marks. But just for the heck of it, I'm going to put them all back on so that you can see them all. Okay, so now that all these marks are going to show up, and down here, bleed and slug, use document bleed settings. I've created a document bleed setting, so I'm just going to click on that. And what it's going to automatically do is it's going to automatically look inside my document, and it's going to see that I indicated a document bleed setting of 0.125 inch. So what it's going to do then is it's going to apply that setting. So now I'm going to hit export, and it's creating, I don't know, yeah, it's still in the process. See right there, it's creating it. In a second, see it? You see it? It's telling you it's up. Now it should be created, and there it is. Look it. I'm going to go I'm going to zoom out. Let me zoom this out to 75, and you'll see it a little bit better. Let's make it 75. There we go. Now watch. Okay, so here we go. There is my printed piece. Right there are my crop marks. Those are the marks showing where the piece is going to cut out of the larger piece. These are the marks that show the extent of the bleed. They're called bleed marks. They're on the outer edge of the bleed. This is actually where the piece is going to cut. This is a grayscale to show you the range of gray so that you see that you've got a full range of gray here, and it's clean and it's well done. And then you have your color bars, which shows you an array of different colors and how true they are. Like, for instance, there's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. All these different colors are true to the color, so it's showing you this. And then these guys here are your registration marks. The registration marks are in black, and that's what the printer uses when the piece gets separated to register the 4 different plates, which are cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So now if you take a look at this, this is actually a very accurate representation of what your piece should look like if you were making a real label to go to the printer. Okay, so there you have it. So I'm going to just close this and save it. Now we're back into here. We're in Adobe InDesign. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to call this Final Label. And then P-R-O-D-U-C-T-I-O-N, Production. And I'm going to make sure that I save that in the folder as well. Week 4. And hit Save. And that's all there is to creating a label. Now you wouldn't be doing this. You're not going to be doing this to your packaging, because the packaging is being created and it's going to be die cut and it's going to be made different. So basically, you don't need to do that. And I'm going to close this, and we'll go back into Illustrator for the rest of this. Okay, all right. So that's basically how you're going to create your label. Now, in your hot sauce label, okay, really all you need to do is 2 things. You need to go File, Save As, okay, and you're going to save it as a PDF, and you're going to call that, you know, your name. And I guess you would put in DES dash, what is it, 230, what is it? I can't, yeah, 244. Let me try it again. File, Save As. All right, and then it's going to be Adobe PDF, and then it's going to be DILLSWENEY. Week 4 assignment. Let's see what it's asking you, how it asks you to do it. There it is, your file. DES assignment first. Okay, that's really how it is. So it's yeah, so it's DES dash 244, and then FINAL ASSIGNMENT dash DILLSWENEY. And then you're going to basically save that. And there's your label, and hit Save PDF. And if I'm not mistaken, let me go back in and see. This is for your prototype. So the label, let's see here, mock-up. Yeah, I guess it's for the label as well. Let me see, go to assignments. Let's go back to assignments for a second. And let's see what the assessment is. Let's see, go to the for assessment preparation of final art. Let's see what it says here. So prompt, getting the final approval package and label design. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, so there you go. What we're doing here, making sure that all the images and vector files are in CMYK. All image resolution is 300, placed between 80 and 100%. Cut lines, fold lines, all that stuff. Any required weights. If you create a package those files. So you're going to actually create. Illustrator. If you created your package or label in InDesign, you're going to create your package. You can actually create your package in Illustrator. I have no problem with that. And your label, if you want to do what I did, I went in and created my label in InDesign. I think that would be a very good idea. I think that's what you should do. You should go in there and create that. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go back in and open up InDesign again because I want to show you how to package that in a second. Okay, so that's what it's saying is you're going to actually, make sure that you got this whole thing worked out and corrected, and then you're going to package all this. So let's do that real quickly. Let's go back into InDesign very quickly. Let me open this thing up. And what we're going to do is, all right, so here is your InDesign piece. And I showed you how to create the PDF. What we're going to do now is we're going to package this. So you're going to go down to the File menu, go to the File menu, go down to Package, okay, and you get the Package dialog box. So now let me just explain to you what it is that you're doing and why you're doing this. You really don't have an awful lot of problems with this particular label, because the entire label has been essentially built in Adobe Illustrator, and it's just one piece of art. So if you take a look at your package summary here, it tells you that in your entire publication, there were no fonts used. So that means none are missing, none are embedded, none are incomplete, none are protected. You didn't use any fonts. Every piece of information came from a single image that you brought into InDesign from Adobe Illustrator. Now look at what it says here, links and images. One link was found. Well, that link is your image. That's the image that you brought in. So it found one link. None of them are modified, so it's fine. None of them are missing, it's fine. None are inaccessible, so it's fine. None are embedded, and none use RGB color space. So this is the one that's most important for you to understand, and that is that 0 use RGB color space. That means essentially it's telling you that it found that your colors are in the correct color mode, which is CMYK. It's saying that right there, 0 use RGB. Now look where it says color and inks, 4 process color inks, 0 spot inks, CMS is on. So this is important for you to understand as well, because it's telling you that the color inks that you're using are correct, all 4 process color inks. That's very important for you because this is all the information that you need to verify. This is what it's telling you to verify in the assignment. So that's why I'm pointing this out to you, because in the summary panel right here, it should tell you all that you want to know, and that is that you're not using any fonts, that you only got one link found, and that's the link that you brought in from your final rendering of your label, and that the colors are process color inks, and that it is in CMYK because there's no RGB. Okay, so all this is what you need to look for and understand what it is you're looking at. Now you're going to hit package, and what happens is you get this printing instructions. So what this printing instructions basically means essentially is that you can name this file, and I'm going to call this file label, L-A-B-L-E, label for hot sauce. Okay, so label for hot sauce. Now, your name, you should put your name on it because you're the submission person, so the contact person should be you. The company name, I just wrote some company because in reality what you would be doing is you'd be writing in the company that you're doing the project for. Or if you're working for a company, or if you're working as a freelancer, you might put in your company, okay? And then, of course, you could put the address in. I just put some address in because that's something that you could put in there or not. I put 999999, so on and so forth. I just put it in there to show you that it's usually a very good idea to put a phone number in there. I also added email at yahoo.com because it's also a good idea to have an email in there because somebody may get this piece of art and have a question and they need to know who to contact right here. And if they want to call them, they need a phone number to associate with. And if they need to email you or want to email you, they also should have an email. Then down here, instructions, this is something that you can also do. It's kind of like an option, but it's an important option, is that if you have anything that you want to communicate to your printer, this is your opportunity to do it. You can actually write them a note telling them anything at all. I have nothing that I want to tell the printer at this moment, but the point of this is that there might be something specific that you do want to tell them. Here's your opportunity to do it. So after you've put in the information that makes sense for your particular project, you just hit continue. And then what happens is you get this package publication dialog box. And it will tell you that it's going to go on my PC to the desktop in week 4. That's the folder. What it's going to do, okay, it's kind of important that you understand this, is that you're going to name this final, final label production folder. I'm just going to remove the word folder. I don't need that. It's just the folder's name is going to be final label production, okay? And it is going to be a folder. And what it's going to attempt to do is it's going to copy fonts, it's going to copy linked graphics, and it's going to update graphic links in package. What update links in graphic package really means is it's going to recreate this document, the final label production InDesign document. It's going to recreate that in the folder, and it's going to direct the links correctly to that folder, which is got the copy graphic in it. It's also going to come over here and create a PDF as well. So you'll get a backup PDF as well. So I'm going to hit package, and now it's packaging the document. Give it a second to do this because it has to process the information. All right. And now if I go into my week 4 folder, I see right here, final label production. There's the folder that I've just packaged this to. Now I'm going to double click on this, and I have only one folder in here. Okay. I have my links folder, and when I click on it, all it is my encapsulated PostScript file that I used for my label. That's all that's in there. Now here is my final label production InDesign markup document, my final label production InDesign document, and I have here, which is my my PDF. I'm going to double click on this and open it, and you can see what it did. It actually recreated the document with all the settings that I had, which means I have my grayscale, my color bar, my crop marks, my registration marks, my crop marks, and my bleed marks. So you can see it's complete. So I can actually now, I can close this. And also this little file right there, those are your notes. That's the file that you created with your notes on it, your name, your phone number, your email, and so on and so forth. So there it is. Now if I go into week 4, I can take my final label, all right? I believe that's it right there. Let's see. Let me see if it is. I think I'm almost certain that it is. But let me just open it and double check it and verify. Yes, it is. So I can delete this because I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to delete it. All right? And all of that's in there. So now all you need to do is you need to do your final package work and submit it along with the final label production, and you'll be good to go. Okay? So there you have it. That's how you do that. I'm going to close this. And then we're back into Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so there's your label. That's done. So we're going to close the label. We're done with that. All right. We have our hot sauce bottle here, which we've created, and it looks really good. And it is something that you eventually should want to do and should do, because again, I just think it's very professional. So that leaves us with creating our 3D rendering of the box. Now, I'm going to begin the process of working on this today, but I'm really going to finish up doing this tomorrow. I'm going to spend tomorrow working on this because there's a good bit of information that goes into this. So the first thing that we have to deal with here is we have your artwork down here. I think I'm going to get rid of that. Let me get rid of that for now. Okay, so I have your artwork here, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer at the very top. And I'm going to call this my mock-up layer. All right, mock-up layer. Now, the reason that I want to create a mock-up layer is because I want to kind of lock all this stuff down, all right? What I'm going to lock down is the die line, the bleed, and the folds, and the background. I'm going to leave the graphic layers unlocked and the mock-up layers unlocked. Eventually, I'm going to lock the graphic layers down as well. But the first step in preparing to create a 3D mock-up of this is to go into your symbols. Here are my symbols. Let me bring my symbols out. Okay. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into my symbols. I don't think I need the transparency, but I'll keep it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our symbols panel, and we're going to set up symbols for our 3D mockup. All right. Now, before I even do that, there is one little thing that I want to do, and that is I want to get my rectangle tool, and I want to come over here. Now, all these panels are the same size. I don't know whether you remember this or not, but they're all basically the same size. So I'm going to come in here very carefully, and I'm just going to drag to create a shape that is the size of one of the panels, okay? And then I'm going to drag it over to here, okay? And now I have a rectangular shape that's the size of one of these panels. I'm going to get my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click to fill it with our background color. All right. So now I have this shape. I'm going to put it way over here for a moment. So this shape is going to do two things for me. It's going to be what I render my 3D box out of. And I'm going to show you right now how I'm going to do that. But before I do that, I'm just going to duplicate this shape. All right. Let me just duplicate this shape. There. Okay, so now I got two of them. I'm going to keep this one over here, and I'm going to put this one way over here. All right, so with this selected, I'm going to go to the Effect menu, and I'm going to go down to 3D. And this time, instead of using Revolve, all right, now let me stop for a moment. This is not a profile. This is actually a shape. This is actually a rectangular shape. It's not an open shape. It's a closed shape. When I go in here and I created my bottle, okay, it's completely different. Let me go into my appearance panel, and let me hide my yeah, see, it's going to give me a lot of trouble to do this. Let me hide my 3D revolves on this. There we go. Okay. And let me hide that one. There we go. And let me move this label over here. Okay. So those are profiles. That's what we're working with when we do the 3D revolve. Okay. Profiles. So you can see they're open shapes. But when we come in here and we start working with, extrudes, all right, Effect 3D extrude and bevel, we're working with solid shapes. So I'm just going to select this thing, and I'm going to use the exact same setting I used on the other one, which was off-axis front, and I'm going to hit Preview. And as you can see, okay, already, I'm going to hit OK, already I have a 3D box being rendered. Now, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, all right? I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so that we can actually play around with this a little bit better. Let me open up there we go, my extrude and bevel. Now, I'm going to click on this shape to select it again. And right here in my appearance panel, you'll see where it says 3D extrude and bevel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to do is that's going to throw me back into 3D extrude and bevel dialog box, where I hit Preview to bring my setting back up. Now what I want to do is I want to make the box as thick as it's wide. And I do that right there where it says extrude depth. And I'm going to bring that extrude depth out to about oh, I don't know, maybe 170. That's 180. That's actually probably about 100 and let's make it 200. That's you know what? I think that's probably pretty square. I'm going to hit OK, and let's take a look at it. Yeah. So you see that looks fairly square. It might be just a might just need to go a touch further with it. You know what I mean? Like let's make it, I don't know, let's make it like 210. Let's try that. 210. Okay. 210, and let's see what that looks like. Oh, I actually messed that up. It's got to be 210. There we go. There, 210. That I think looks pretty good. Now, there's one other thing that's going to make, there's actually a couple of things. One other thing that's going to make this box look really good, and that's by adding a little bit of perspective to it. If I come in here and if I drag and I make a little bit of perspective on this, it's going to make that box looks all the better. So I've made this perspective go out to about 32. And I'm going to hit OK, and let's take a look at our box and see what our box looks like. That box looks pretty darn good, okay? That's what our box is going to look like. This box right here is what our box is going to look like. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create symbolic graphics of our sides and our front and our top. And we're going to apply those graphics to this 3D rendered box. And what we're going to do is, let me start off by clicking on this, and let me go edit copy, edit paste in place, and let me bring it over here, and let me remove the fill and the stroke from it. I'm going to actually put a stroke on it for a moment, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select my graphics, and I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste, and I'm going to position my graphics on my sample, just like that, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go copy this. Let's go edit copy, edit paste in place, and let me bring it over here next to it, and then edit paste in place, and let me bring it over here just next to it again. Whoops, I didn't get it. I'll try it again. There we go. Come on. Here we go. Ah, it's tricky. Okay, hold on the shift key and drag it over. That's another way to do it. There we go. Okay, so here's what we have. We have a side. There's a side. We have a front. Edit copy. Edit paste. There. And now I'm just going to move that front into proper position, like about like that, and bring it up like about there. Make sure I got it in the center as best I can. That's pretty good. There's my front. There is my side. And let's get it back. Let me come over here and let me get the back. I'm going to select all of this, and let's go edit copy, and then edit paste. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring it over here, and I'm going to move it up and get it on the back right there, just about like that. So now I have, what I've done basically is I've duplicated all the graphic elements. That there's your back, there's your front, and there's your side. And I have them applied to a frame that has a stroke of red on it. I'm going to remove that color because I don't want the color. I want the color to be none on this. I just want the frame as a parameter, a border, so to speak, but I don't want it to show in terms of color. There's one other thing that I need to do here is I need to create a top, because I do have a top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to very carefully render out a shape for a top, right like that, just like that. And there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to bring this over here like that, okay? And I am going to copy this graphic, edit copy, edit paste. There we go. And I'm going to move that graphic right up there. and position it where it would be positioned on the top. So now I have my graphics made up for my 3D mock-up. What I need to do with this is I need to turn these into symbols. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these into symbols, and then I'm going to quit for the day. And then what we'll do tomorrow is we'll come in and we'll pick up from here. Okay? So I'm first going to go File, Save. All right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change the stroke to none. And then I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to carefully click, drag, and drop it into the symbol. And I'm going to call this side. And it's going to be a graphic. Okay? Hit OK. And now I have a side created right there. There's my little side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to select this first. I'm going to remove the stroke so that if you deselect this, you can see that there's no color on that. It's just a frame. Select all of this, click and drag and drop it. Whoops, I didn't get it. Drag and drop it in, and call this front, and change it from movie clip to graphic and hit OK. And this is fine. Do that. And now I have my front. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to remove that stroke, select the whole thing, carefully click and drag and drop it in, and we're going to call that back, and it's going to become a movie clip. It's going to be a graphic. Hit OK. And now I have my back. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this, where I'm just going to actually remove that and select the whole thing, drag and drop it in, and call this top. And it's going to be, again, a graphic, and hit OK. And the envelope will be expanded. That's not a problem. What that envelope is, by the way, the word Serrano, that was in an envelope. That word Serrano, that was in an envelope. So when I was getting that message saying that you need to expand the envelope, the symbolic panel, the symbol panel, can't bring an envelope in. So it expanded it. It turned it into a permanent graphic. That's all it is. It's not a big deal. It's just the way it works. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and what I want to do is I want to, let's see if I can double click on this. Cancel, let me see. Let me come in here and break link to symbol. Okay, there you go. And I'm going to click on this and break link to symbol. Click on this. Yeah, come on, you. What is the problem with you? I guess it's here. Let me break link the symbol. There we go. And this, break link the symbol. Okay, so now here's what's going on, just so that you understand. Because we're going to call this a night now, and we'll pick up tomorrow. So what I have is I have a symbol of the side. I have a symbol of the front. I have a symbol of the back. And I have a symbol of the top. Okay? These are the symbols that I'm going to use to put on the surface of this tomorrow. Now, what I want to do here is I want to show you how to create another type of box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my group selection tool, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to very carefully click on that frame. And what I want to do is I want to color it. All right? And let's go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. There we go. And then I'm going to click on this guy here. Let me get that tool again. Select it and color it with the red. And Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And by the way, why this is happening is I created those frames. Apparently, I created those frames after I created the I dragged the graphics over, so they seem to be in front of it. So if it happens, it's no big deal. You just got to send them to the back. The frames go to the back. That's all. It's not a big deal. I'm going to add that color to it. Object, arrange, send to back. And the same thing with this guy right here, the top. I'm going to select the top like this. You get it? There we go. And let's make that black. There we go. See, and now that one came out okay. So now I have my box over here. I have my symbols in here. Okay, my symbols in here. And I've actually got these guys here, which I'm going to show you another way of making a box, another way of creating a box. All right. And then I'm actually going to show you a third way to make a box. So I have everything I need. I basically got everything I need to put my box together. So I'm going to end here. I'm going to go File, Save. I'm going to end here. Tomorrow in class, when we come into class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up from here, and I'm going to show you the different ways that you can turn these elements right here, which is my basic box element, and my separate little panels that I've created by just copying the graphics off of the panel and creating one simple little panel like I did here. I'll show you. I'm going to do the same thing with the black again. Just come over here, and it's I think it was like a 4x4 is what it was, something like that. And there it is. I created those two basic shapes, all right, and colored them accordingly. All right, so I got the shape that I need for all four of my panels, because they're all the same size. This shape right there is all I need for all four of my panels. That shape right there is what I need for my top, because it's the size that it is. And if you go back to your original, I don't have them close at hand, but if you go back to your original, the original will give you the sizes. And you should have, if you've done this, you should have the box size created properly. Then all you're doing really is you're selecting your graphics, which I have grouped together, and you're duplicating them and moving them into position over top of these. Okay, and then making symbols out of them by removing the color of the background, like I did here. Let me see where my symbols are. By removing the background color and just turning these into frames. Look, I just made them into blank frames. That's all it is. And then I put my graphics over top of the blank frame. Okay. For the second version of my box, which is what I've done here, I've actually gone in and made these colors so that I can actually try a different method of making a box. So there's 3 different methods that I'm going to show you how to make boxes with. And one of them I'm going to use is the perspective grid tool. The other one is the free transform tool, the distort tool is what I'm going to use for this. And then, of course, I'm going to go back up into, and this is important for you to understand, the appearance panel. And I'm going to go into 3D extrude and bevel and show you how to do that beveling right there. And then we'll package this whole thing up. So there you go. I'm going to call this a night. Let me go save this. I've done enough for one night. Save this thing, and I will be back tomorrow to do the rest. Thank you for watching.